Hello and welcome to the Wolfsdorf Immigration Law EB-5 planning for 2015, 16, and 17.
欢迎大家参加这个移民热点话题讲座，为2015年、2016年和2017年提前做好规划。
We're going to talk today about understanding the cutoff date and also about retrogression. Will there be retrogression after May 2015? And the third topic will be the Child Status Protection Act, which will help the children from potentially aging out.
今天我们会讲到下面一些话题，一个是了解截止日期，还有2015年5月之后的排期倒退情况，还有在签证排期出现之后如何保护儿童，将他们年龄锁定在21岁以下。
My name is Bernard Wolfsdorf. We have 20 lawyers. I encourage all of you to email me with questions, bernard@wolfsdorf.com. That's our telephone number if you visit us in the US. Otherwise, you can call us from China if you have questions. We have many Chinese speakers on the staff, and it's a pleasure to speak with you today.
我是伯纳德 Wolfsdorf 律师，我们这个律师事务所呢有20名专业律师，欢迎大家呢，今天欢迎大家提问题，利用这个机会，你们有问题的话可以直接给发电子邮件给我，那个我的电子邮件地址是 bernard@wolfsdorf.com， 或者如果你们当中有任何人有机会来美国的话呢，也可以直接给我们打电话。
The other good news is that I will be sending a copy of this PowerPoint, and the recording will also be available online if you need to check something and if you need to share the information which I will present today. So each of you will get a copy of this PowerPoint, and also the recording will be available online for free.
今天所讲的这些内容呢，我们会在那个网站上公布出来，然后呢也会有那个录音，这样可以让大家那个更具体的了解里面的内容。
I have a lot of materials to cover today, and this PowerPoint has a lot of information. I will not be covering every point because you can read it, but I'm going to try and have you understand all of the important points.
今天内容很多但是我不会逐一的来讲，只是会挑一些比较重要的来进行一下解释。
Please note that the information I give today is not legal advice. You need to bring the specific facts if you want legal advice. And the main reason for this is the State Department itself is not giving clear advice on many of the important points.
我要说明一下，就是今天我所讲的呢，不是作为不能当做法律意见。如果你们要一些很具体的，有一些涉及很具体一些方面的问题呢，你们要单独再去咨询法律方面的意见。另外，那个目前国务院呢，有的时候他们所公布出来的那个信息呢，有的时候也不是很一致。
One of the most important things is to understand the words. If you're going to, you have to learn new words. The EB-5, many of you are experienced in EB-5, but you may not be familiar with these words. I'm going to briefly mention them and then move on.
大家一定是对这个投资移民这个内容呢，应该是比较了解。但是呢， 在投资移民当中呢，遇到的一些那个关键词汇呢，可能有些地方大家还不一定很清楚。
What we presently have with China EB-5 is called a quota backlog.
目前中国的情况是呢，在这个出现了这个积压问题，在这个签证名额方面。
The second thing which is very important is called a priority date. That is the date you file the I-526.
还有一个需要，就是大家都要明白的是关于这个优先日期，就是申请递出去的那个日期。
The third thing is called the visa bulletin, and you can subscribe online and you will automatically get an email every month, and all of you should do it. Instead of having to go online, you will automatically get an email with the visa bulletin sent to you.
另外就是每个月美国国务院呢会发布那个签证排期公告，另外大家可以那个通过注册呢，这样的话呢，这个每次公布的这个呢会自动的发给您。
Again, I apologize for the experienced people on the call because this is basic.
听众当中肯定有一些人是非常有经验的，但是我今天要借这个机会呢，讲一些最基本的情况。
When you see the visa bulletin, you will see the letter U, unavailable, and you will also see a specific date. The date refers to the quota backlog. The U means it's unavailable for that month only.
另外，大家看那个签证排期公布出来的签证情况的话呢，可能会看到那个英文字母 U 意思呢就是没有名额，然后或者是会看到有一个具体的日期，具体日期呢就指的是优先日期。然后如果是看到 C 的话 ，C 的意思就是说现在有名额。
Current means this is what we've had for China for the past 20 years. Current means there's no waiting line.
刚才讲到那个 C 呢，就是 current 意思就是说一直有名额。比如大家都知道那个 EB-5 名额在过去这么多年一直是有名额。
If you are in the United States in lawful status, you can file to adjust if your priority date is before the cutoff date.
如果申请人在美国境内，而且有合法身份的话，另外他的那个优先日期在那个签证公布栏里边，在他那个日期之前的话，您可以在美国境内递交 I-485申请来调整身份。
For example, if your filing date was May 1, 2013, which is the current cutoff date, you still cannot file because you have to be before that date. You have to be at April 30, 2013.
如果您的那个排期日期是5月1号，2013年5月1号的话，您还是不能递交 I-485到了5月1号以后，因为您的排期日期一定要在，举个例子就是说，一定要在2013年4月30号或者之前，您才能递485的申请。
So the big question is, what is going to happen with the current backlog? Will it get better or will it get worse?
现在呢，我们要考虑的是，在目前这个状况下呢，这个排期的问题是会变好呢，还是会变得越发的倒退？
Nobody knows the answer, including Mr. Oppenheim, who prepares this, but you will all know on May the 9th, they will publish the date for June 1, 2015. Nobody knows what the number will be for next month. On May the 9th, we will know what the visa bulletin will be for June.
现在呢，大家还不知道将来会发生什么样的情况，因为6月份的那个签证排期情况呢，要大概等到5月9号才能出来。
Presently, the cutoff is May 1, 2013. Does this mean it's going to take 2 years to get an EB-5? No, it does not mean 2 years. It could be 2.5 years. You have to wait until your number is called.
现在那个签证排期的那个公布出来的日期呢是2013年5月1号，但是呢，表面上看起来好像是倒退了2年，但是并不是这个意思，倒退也有可能会是2年半。
I now want to answer the most important question.
现在我想回答最关键的一个问题。
What is going to happen to all those people in the waiting line? Are they going to wait 2 years or are they going to wait 3 years?
现在至于需要等待签证名额的这些申请人，大概他们是要等2年呢，还是要等3年？
It is my calculation, and this is not accurate, but it is my calculation, that most people will end up having to wait an additional 6 to 8 months, maybe 10 months.
这个呢是我自己的那个估计啊，大概呢大多数的人估计起码要等6到8个月的时间。
So I'm going to repeat this point. It is my conclusion and my guesstimate that most people will end up waiting about 8 or 10 months longer than currently expected on average.
这是我自己的那个推算，大多数人呢可能要比目前估计的情况呢还要多等6到8个月的时间。
So this is a very simple question. Your country of birth is what's important. If you're born in China, you are subject. If you're married to somebody from Hong Kong, then you do not have this problem. I think most people know this.
下面讲这个事情就是关于出生的国家。如果是您是出生在中国大陆的话呢，就会遇到目前的签证排期这个影响。如果您是在香港出生的话，您就不会有这个问题。
Many of you may have been on my seminar last week. The difference is that seminar was done based on predictions. Today, I have had the opportunity to present the panel together with Mr. Oppenheim, and I'm going to provide new and additional information.
你们当中有一部分人呢，上个周参加了我的那个之前举办的这个讲座，但是区别是呢，这次呢，这个讲座呢是建立在我和那个 Oppenheim 先生交谈之后，得到了更确切消息以后，然后呢做的这个讲座。
Mr. Oppenheim confirmed that there are over 13,000 cases pending at this present time.
Oppenheim 先生他确认呢，目前有13000个申请在等待批准。
The other important point is that if you filed your case before May 2013, none of this is interesting because you have zero problem.
另外就是，如果您的申请是2013年5月1号之前递进去的话，不会有任何问题。
I repeat, the other people are going to end up having somewhere between 6 and 10 months average additional waiting time.
其他的申请人呢，大概会遇到6到10个月，要那个更多的那个等待时间。
How serious is this for people who have already filed?
目前的状况对这些已经递进去申请的人会有多大的影响呢？
I don't think it's a big deal that people are going to have to wait between 6 and 10 months longer.
如果只是要多等待6到10个月的话，这也不是太大的问题。
What about the new cases? What about the people who are going to file tomorrow? How long will they have to wait?
但是对于即将要递进去的这些申请，这些人他们会目前的状况会对他们有什么影响呢？
I was very happy to hear Mr. Oppenheim say that he did not think the waiting line would get longer than 3 years.
当我听那个奥本汉姆先生跟我讲，那个等待期限不会超过3年的话，我非常高兴。
He was very clear. I asked that question, and he said the waiting line will be between 2 and 3 years.
我专门就这个问题问过他，然后他跟我说的呢，等待期限应该是2到3年之间。
If somebody told me I have a 3-year waiting line, the solution is to file immediately so you get your place in the waiting line. It is not good to wait and see what happens.
如果现在的消息是说要等待3年的话，那您应该是赶紧要抓紧时间，尽快把申请递进去。
I presented this slide. This shows the large increase in the number of cases. This year, the first 3 months of this year, which is October to December, we have 1,652 approvals.
这个在今年的这张现在大家看到的是今年头3个月所递进去的申请，一共是有13000多个申请递交进去。
I have covered this one as well. This is for the 829s. It is true that most Chinese applicants will not be able to file their 829 until maybe 4 or 5 years later. But the good news is that the denial rate for the first quarter of this year was 0.
现在目前有很多申请人呢，估计要等4、5年以后呢，才能递交 I-829申请。但是的好消息是呢，到目前为止呢，还没有第一个 quarter 当中还没有被拒签的那个 I-829。
I've shown this chart as well. This explains why only China has a waiting line, and that is because 85% of the applicants are from China.
这个大家看到这个图表呢，是说为什么中国现在会出现这个签证排期的问题？因为
85% are from China.
因为85%的申请人都是从大陆来的。
Also, interestingly, 97% invested in targeted employment areas, only 97% in targeted employment areas, only 3% were in non-TEA. 97% are in TEA, targeted employment areas.
97%，其中97%呢是在这个区域中心当中提交的申请，进行了投资。
So, for EB-5, we have 10,000 every year. Everybody knows this. The 3 issues are age out of children, job creation, and return of capital.
每年在这个投资移民这个项目当中呢，有1万个名额，然后并且呢会把这些名额呢分配给投资人和他们的家庭成员。
So the year starts on October 1 and ends on September 30th, and every year we have 10,000 visas.
所以每个财年呢，从10月1号到下一年的9月30号，这个下发的这个所有签证呢，1万个名额呢都在这个财政年度当中。
On April the 13th, this week in Washington, I was on a panel with Charlie Oppenheim, April the 13th, and he announced that the quota starts on May 1 in approximately 2 weeks.
在今年的那个4月13号呢，在那个华盛顿呢，国务院公布了这个签证排期，从2015年5月1号开始。
Unless your case was filed before May 2013, you cannot have a final interview.
除非您的申请是在 2013年5月1日之前递交上去的话，您不会被安排面谈。
This again is from the time you file the 526.
这就是这个5月1日2013的这个日期，就是说递交申请的日期。
So this is what you are going to see in the visa bulletin. If you go to travel.state.gov, you will see the number 050113. You can see it right now by going to travel.state.gov. Subscribe. They will send the visa bulletin to you every month for free.
现在您看到呢，就是现在在这个5月份那个签证公布栏里边可以看到的关于投资移民项目的这个排期情况。然后呢，您可以上网那个 www.travel.state.gov， 在这个地方呢，你们可以看到这个每次公布的签证排期情况。另外呢，也可以那个上网注册，这样可以他们固定出来新的排期呢，会自动通知你们。
I will remind all of our listeners today that I will be answering all your questions. Please email your questions in English or Chinese. If it's in English, it's easier for me. If it's in Chinese, that's good. I'll be a little bit slower.
今天呢，我想利用这个机会呢，欢迎大家那个可以把您的问题呢，都提交上来，用英文提交也可以，用中文也可以。
I have only one point to mention here, and that is, what will the waiting line be in October 2015, the beginning of the next year?
另外，我想讲一下，在今年2015年10月1号，这个签证情况大概会是什么样子？
I have been told by the State Department that the waiting line in October, the beginning of the next year, will be about 2 years.
我从国务院方面得到的消息是呢，在今年2015年10月1号，大概会公布出来情况是，排期大概是会2年。
I have also been told, and this information has never previously been released, that at the end of next year, that is September 2016, the waiting line will be approximately 2.5 years. I repeat, in September 2016, the waiting line will be summer, that is US summer, June, July, August 2014. I'm repeating this the third time. In September 2016, the guess is that cases filed before June or July 2014 will be ready for interview.
另外，我从国务院得到消息是说呢，到2016年9月份，到那时候的签证排期情况呢，大概是会2年半。然后呢，如果是您的申请是在2014年6月、7月或者8月之前递交的话呢，您的那个排期应该可以排到。
Anybody who tells you exactly when your number will come up is guessing.
现在不管是谁跟你们讲，他非常肯定的告诉你们，您的排期大概要等多久的话，这都是推算，因为没有一个人知道是确切情况会是怎么样。
This is because there are 2 variables.
因为这里有2个变数。
One is the number of cases that are filed.
第一是要看有多少申请递交进去。
And the second is the rate of approval.
另外要看批准的那个数量。
Nobody can predict these 2 points.
因为这2个情况没有人能够事先预估。
So when you call me in 2 years' time and I was wrong, please do not blame me.
所以如果2年以后您觉得2年以后的情况跟我现在讲的不一样的话，千万不要怪罪我，因为 我实在是没有办法现在讲出来2年之后的具体情况会是什么样子。
I have spent many hours studying this topic and speaking to the government, so I can give you the best estimate, but not the facts.
另外，我已经花了大量的时间研究这个事情。另外，我也和政府的那个官员沟通过，所以呢，我现在讲的呢都是我现在目前所知道的情况。
Now, there is one question which nobody is clear on, and many of you need to learn about protecting the children from aging out.
还有一个情况就是大家一定要弄清楚一个重要的事情，就是怎么样来保护孩子的超龄问题。
There is still a debate whether you have to do this before April 30th, 2015.
另外，很多人在讨论这个问题，您是不是要采取行动，在2015年4月30号之前采取行动？
My office is taking the conservative position that for cases that have been approved, we have to protect the children before May 1.
我们律师事务所呢是采取比较保守的方法，建议大家呢，如果是一旦孩子有年龄超龄的风险的话呢，一定要在今年2015年4月30号之前采取行动。
The State Department has released some unofficial information saying, don't worry, you have 1 year to do this.
国务院呢发表过一些信息出来，说是没有什么太大的关系，只要您在1年之内采取行动就可以。
Some lawyers are saying, don't worry, you have 1 year.
有些律师也是这么认为，觉得您从批准之后应该有1年时间来锁定孩子的年龄。
It is my understanding that when the numbers are backlogged, you have to protect child before they are backlogged, generally.
我的理解是，一定要在到那个签证倒退之前要采取行动。
There's more information on this on my blog, connect.wolfsdorf.
这方面的信息呢，大家可以从我的那个博客上面得到，那个是 connect.wolfsdorf.com。
Also, it is interesting to note that after the cutoff starts, you actually don't want a quick decision because you can deduct the time the petition was pending from the child's age.
另外呢，一旦排期已经出现之后呢，如果您的申请递交进去以后的审批时间如果延长的话，这样对孩子计算孩子年龄的话反而有好处，因为可以从这个526的审批时间当中呢，等待的时间从孩子年龄上减下去。
So if the petition is pending 3 years and you file just before the 21st birthday, you have nothing to worry about.
所以说打个比方，就是比如说526递进去的时候，孩子那个还不满21岁，然后审批呢花了3年时间才批下来，这样对孩子反而有利。
I do think that if you are planning to apply for a 526 and the child is over 18, you may want to consider having that child be the principal applicant.
所以如果您在递交526申请的时候，孩子已经超过18岁，这种情况下呢，我建议孩子作为主申请人来递交这个526申请。
If you are the parent, you can wait 6 or 7 years, the child can become a citizen, and then you can get a green card after 1 year.
所以说呢，如果是孩子作为主申请人递交的话呢，孩子的父母呢大概等个7、8年，等到孩子变成美国公民以后呢，孩子可以替父母申请绿卡。
This is a little bit complicated because you actually have to gift the child $1 million so they become an accredited investor, and then the child can invest the 500,000.
这个呢稍微有一点复杂，因为在这种情况下呢，父母要把那个投资的金额呢作为礼物送给孩子，这样的话呢，孩子可以用这笔款项呢来进行投资。
Under the Child Status Protection Act, there are certain things you have to do after the petition is approved.
在孩子年龄保护法这个下边呢，当这个526批准以后呢，您要进行一些考量。
Once you've done these things, the child's age will freeze permanently.
如果您采取了适当的行动的话呢，孩子年龄就被永久性的锁定了。
If the applicant, the principal applicant, is in China, the best thing is to pay the fee bill and file the forms DS-260.
如果主申请人在大陆的话，最好的办法呢就是收到国务院的缴费单以后呢，交费，另外呢递交 DS-260表格。
Or if the applicant is in the United States, invalid student status or work status, you should file an adjustment before April 30th.
如果申请人在美国境内有合法的学生身份或者是工作身份的话，要赶在2015年4月30日之前把这个 I-485申请递交进去。
My office is very busy and people are working overtime to file adjustments to be received before May 1.
现在我们办公室呢，大家都非常忙，因为其中一大部分的案子就是在递交准备递交 I-485，一定要在2015年5月1日之前让移民局收到这个申请。
I will also apologize for the translations, the written translations. I gave these to my assistant 2 hours before we started this webinar.
如果这个中文翻译，大家看到中文翻译有什么不妥当的地方呢，请大家见谅，因为呢，我是在大概2个小时之前才把我这个英文版本给我的那个助手，请他们帮我翻译。
I caution you that the Chinese translations may not be 100% accurate.
所以呢，这个中文翻译呢，有可能不是十分的准确。
Some of this webinar repeats itself again and again.
另外里边有些内容呢，估计可能是有重复性。
But since I'm going to send you all this information, I want you to be able to read it if something is not clear.
所以呢，我会把这个信息呢，到时候会发表出来。这样的话呢，一旦有什么地方不清楚的话呢，你们可以事后再仔细的看一看。
I explained to you that the best thing to do is to file an adjustment if you are in the US and if you are in China to file a DS-260 and pay the fee.
所以说呢，保住孩子年龄的最好办法是，如果人已经在美国境内有合法身份的话，递交 I-485，或者是如果人还在中国大陆的话呢，赶紧付费，然后呢递交230表格。
My reading of the law is that you should try and do this before the quota backlog starts on May 1.
然后这些行动呢，都要在2015年5月1日这个签证排期出现之前要完成。
I am told the State Department is going to publish new guidelines very soon and that we will be happy with these new guidelines.
另外，国务院传出来消息呢，他们会很快发出来更加详细的指南。这样的话呢，这是个好消息，容易让大家知道如何来操作。
The problem with the number one choice of payment of the fee bill and filing the DS-260 is it can take 2 to 3 months to get the fee bill.
现在关于交那个国务院的签证费和那个递交 DS-260表遇到的最大的问题呢，是因为大概要等2至3个月的时间，当526批准以后才能收到那个 NBC 发出来的缴费单。
The third best option is to file the DS-230 form, that is the old form, together with the approval notice if you do not have the fee bill.
第三个办法呢，就是说递交 DS-230 表格，加上那个签证费，然后再加上那个526的批准通知。
Some people have asked me, where do I get this form DS-230 because it expired in 2013.
有的人问我呢，这个230表格从哪里可以取得？因为呢，理论上讲，这个表格在2013年已经开始不使用了。
You can get it by searching the internet. It is available online. Form DS-230 is still available for download.
大家可以在那个通过网络进行搜索，打进去那个 DS-230表格，就可以下载这个表格，从网络上。
There are several unanswered questions, but I'm going to try.
还会有一些没有得到解答的问题，然后呢，我可以试图进行解答。
For example, if you get the approval on April 30th, can you scan the form DS-230 and email it to the NVC?
比如说，假如您的526申请是在2015年4月30号这一天才批下来，您能不能把您的那个批准通知通过那个电子邮件的方法直接递交到 NVC 签证中心？
I don't know the answer, but I'm going to try it if I get approvals on April the 30th.
我不太肯定这个方法能不能生效，但是我一定会，只要那一天我能拿到批准通知的话，我会去试图去试一下。
Unless the State Department says very clearly that I don't have to worry and I can do this within 1 year, even though the number is unavailable.
除非是国务院会发出来通知说，只要在批准之后1年当中您采取行动，就可以把孩子年龄锁住的话，如果是这样子的话，那真是就不用担心了。
Do I have to file the DS-230 for each family member or only for the child?
另外还有一个问题就是说 ，DS-230这表格是只给主申请人填呢，还是家里的每一个人都要填写一份？
Remember, I'm talking about protecting the child from age out.
现在还是说在谈这个怎么样把孩子年龄锁住的问题。
I don't know the answer, but I suggest file it at least for the principal and for the child.
我不确切这个问题的答案应该是什么，但是我建议起码要主申请人填一份，然后呢，年龄需要受到保护的孩子也填写一份。
I explained to you that paying the fee alone is acceptable to freeze the child's age if you do it before May 1.
另外，我也讲到那个单纯靠交签证费，在那个2015年4月30日，2015年5月1日之前，将这个签证费递交到签证中心，也是作为一种保护孩子年龄的方法。
Do we pay the fee for only the child or the whole family?
问题是这个费是只是替孩子付呢，还是全家都要付？
I suggest it's probably better to pay for the whole family.
我建议这个费用呢，应该是替全家人一起付。
If you are going to file the form DS-230 by email, I would recommend strongly you do more than one thing to protect the child.
另外，如果您决定通过那个电子邮件的形式将DS-230表送到签证中心的话，
I strongly recommend that after the approval and before May 1, you file Form I-824 with immigration and pay the fee of $405.
我建议在递交230表的 同时呢，在5月1号之前再递交一份 I-824申请，加上405块钱的申请费，到移民局。
Some of my clients are saying, why file the 824? That form has nothing to do with it.
我有些客人呢问我，为什么要用这个824表呢？因为这个824表跟这个保护孩子年龄，目前的情况下，保护孩子年龄的话不吻合。
I agree. It's silly to pay $405, but if you want to protect children, do it.
我明白这个表格在这种情况下，这个表格并不是专门为这种情况所设计的，但是呢，在目前为了保护孩子年龄的情况下呢，我们一定要用这个表格呢，来达到这个目的。
It's important to note that if you have paid the fee bill and filed the DS-260, you don't have to do anything else.
所以目前的情况下呢，如果您在有缴费单的情况下交费，另外递交 DS-260申请表的话，孩子的年龄就不会有任何问题。
And it is very possible that in the next week, the State Department will say again that you don't have to worry to do these things quickly. You have 1 year to do it.
下一周呢，国务院有可能还会继续发出来信息说，大家不用担心，您从526批准之后，您还是有1年的时间来锁定孩子的年龄。
The problem is the State Department has not had to deal with this problem before, so they're not completely sure of all the solutions.
因为国务院之前也没有遇到目前这种状况，所以呢，他们有的时候发出的消息呢，他们有的时候也不是非常清楚对这个问题。
If I am walking in the dark and I cannot see clearly, I take small steps.
如果我要是作为我的话，如果我在非常黑暗的情况下要前行的话，我会采取非常小的那个，每次迈出一步能迈出很小的一步。
It is dangerous to run if you cannot see in the dark, and you must go slowly.
在黑暗当中呢，如果您往前奔跑的话呢，会非常危险。所以呢，在这种不清楚的情况下呢，你应该非常谨慎地迈出每一步。
This is the legal definition of the law, and the word is called seek to acquire. You must seek to acquire a green card within 12 months after the visa becomes available.
现在大家看到的是呢，就是一些比较技术方面的词汇，就是说如何采取办法，采取行动来锁住孩子的年龄。
Presently, if your case was not filed before May 2013, a visa number is only available for 2 more weeks.
所以呢，现在情况下呢，如果您的申请不是在2013年5月1日之前递交进去的话，那现在您只有到4月30号，2015年4月30号还有签证名额。
Visa number available means there is no waiting line for you.
在他们公布的情况当中讲到，有签证名额呢，意思就是说，您不用等待。
I will stop this lawyer talk, but it is important to know whether the child will be protected if you file after May 1, 2015.
下面我就要讲的就是刚才前面已经讲到，就是如果您的申请是在2013年5月1日之后递交进去的话，您要采取什么办法？
This is language here from the Department of State, which sent me an email.
现在您看到的是呢，我从美国国务院收到的电子邮件当中得来的信息。
This email made it clear to me that you can file the old form DS-30 or pay the fee, and those 2 things will be good protection.
这个里边讲到呢，靠递交 DS-230，或者是呢，只是 缴纳签证费的话，采取这个方法呢，就可以把孩子年龄锁住。
Before, I was saying you had to file the forms and pay the fee.
以前我讲过，要同时递交230，然后呢，同时缴费，这样才能锁住年龄。
This slide is a summary of the options I have already mentioned.
现在是一个总结吧，对我前面讲到的这些情况。
Slide 25 is a nice, simple summary.
这个看上去呢，可能是比较容易让大家一目了然。
I will remind people that the best option of filing an adjustment can only be done if you are in the U.S. in valid status.
485呢是非常好的一个方法来锁住孩子年龄，但是呢，一定要在有合法的非移民身份情况下才能做。
This is a complicated issue. The next slide.
现在大家看到的呢是一个比较复杂的情况。
The State Department has said if you pay the fee, that is acceptable protection.
国务院说呢，一旦您交了费，这个签证费，就是一个很好的锁定孩子年龄的方法。
If you have a fee bill, it's very easy to pay online.
如果您有签证中心发出来的缴费单，问题就非常简单了，您可以直接在网上支付。
If you go to the State Department website, it will show that there is an alternate or optional way to pay by mail with a cashier's check.
如果您上国务院网站的话呢，您还可以看到他们公布呢关于这个缴费的方法呢，除了网上缴费，您还可以通过寄银行支票或者是汇票的形式来付这个费用。
Not many other lawyers are recommending this choice.
很多律师呢不建议用这个方法。
And I admit that it is not a guarantee.
我也承认，这个方法不是说一定有保障。
But if you go to my blog, you will see the State Department website itself says if you don't have a fee bill, you can pay by cashier's check. So I get this information directly from the State Department website.
所以呢，如果您自己上国务院的网站的话，您也可以看到这种交费的方法。所以呢，我觉得这个方法应该是可以的。
So the Form 824 must be signed by the principal applicant on behalf of the child.
这个 I-824表呢，要由主申请人签字，然后呢递交出去呢，就是为了锁住孩子的年龄。
So I have explained there are 4 ways to protect a child.
所以呢，一共有4种方法来锁住孩子的年龄。
Paying the fee bill, number 3, is the easiest.
如果是有签证中心下发的缴费单的话，网上交费，这是最简单的方法。
Number 1 is the best if you are in the U.S. and can do it.
如果您已经在美国有合法身份，那递交485是最好的一个方法。
But very few people can do it.
但是不是很多人符合这个条件。
Number 4, which is filing the 824, is extra assurance, extra guarantee.
另外呢，第4项呢，递交这个 I-824申请，就是可以作为一种双保险吧，额外的保险。
If I was standing to lose my child, I would pay $405.
如果我有孩子面临这方面的问题的话呢，我会采取一切方法来保住我孩子的年龄。
This is getting very complicated on slide number 30.
现在大家看到这个第30页的里面的内容呢是比较复杂。
The government says that if a visa does not become available within 12 months, you get a second 12 months.
因为在526批准之后的12个月内，如果没有签证名额的话，那您要等到下一次签证名额再有的情况下，要重新计算孩子的年龄。
This is complicated in English, so if you are confused in Chinese, believe me, it's very complicated.
本来这个英文内容就已经很复杂，如果您看到的中文翻译呢，觉得还是不是很清楚的话，也不足为奇，因为本来这个问题就是这个情况或者内容就是非常复杂。
The government says you get a second 12-month period to lock the child's age if you did not do it in the first 12 months.
国务院的意思是说呢，如果在526批准之后的第1年之内，您没有机会锁住孩子年龄的话呢，等到下一次签证有名额的时候呢，您会再有1年的时间来锁住孩子的年龄。
But then it goes on to explain that when you do this, the child's age will be recalculated with the new date.
但是呢，孩子如果这种情况发生的话呢，怎么样来计算孩子的那个 CISPA 年龄呢？就要在等到第2次出现签证有名额的情况下，在那一天的时候，重新计算孩子的年龄，在 CISPA 这个保护法的情况下，儿童年龄保护法情况下，重新计算这孩子年龄。
This worries me because you can only deduct the time the petition was pending, which is about 1 year.
这个时候呢，就会发生了新的问题，因为等到下一次有签证名额的时候呢，孩子年龄已经又增长了，而且呢，您只能从526等待批准的时间当中把孩子年龄减下去。
This is the exact word of the unofficial guidance given by the State Department.
现在大家看到的是国务院发出来的非官方指南。
And it says that you can take these steps within 1 year of the time that the visa becomes available.
这个里面讲到呢，是当526批准以后呢，您有1年的时间来锁定孩子的年龄。
What it doesn't make clear is my concern that the child will continue to age.
但是呢，我的所关心的地方是呢，一旦这个签证名额没有的话，这个孩子年龄会继续增长。
Yes, you may have a year, but the question is, what happens to the child's age during that year? Do you get an extra credit? No.
问题是，一旦出现签证排期的话，孩子年龄继续增长，但是呢，在这种情况下，能把这个继续等待这1年当中，从孩子年龄上减下去吗？但是结果答案应该是不可以。
My concern is, while the State Department has been helpful, it's still not completely clear, so I'm going to be conservative.
因为国务院现在讲出来的消息呢是，您有1年的时间来保住孩子的年龄，但是又不是十分清楚，所以呢，我要采取非常保守的方法。
Again, this is the exact language of the State Department memo, which is being repeated.
现在大家看到的就是还是国务院官方发出来的指南，是非官方的。
So this is the example the State Department gives us.
现在呢，大家看到是一个事例吧，或者范例。
And if you read this, you will be very relaxed because it says if your case was approved on April 3, you have 1 year until April 2016 to file to protect the child.
这上面讲的是，如果您的那个
This example says that if your case was approved on April 3, you have 1 year to file to protect the child.
这上面讲的是呢，如果您的526申请呢是2015年4月3号批下来的话，您有1年的时间到2016年4月3号来采取行动锁住孩子的年龄。
The question is, will the child continue to age during the time from April 3, 2015 to April 3, 2016?
但是问题是，在这1年当中，2015年4月3号到2016年4月3号当中，孩子的年龄是不是可以被锁住？
This is the example the government gives us if your number does not come up within 1 year and you get a second year.
这个现在大家看到的是政府发出来的消息呢，是说，如果您在第一批准以后第1年之中不能锁住年龄的话呢，您后边还会再得到1年。
I think this even has a mistake in it, but I'm not sure. They gave the date of August 3, 2015. I think they mean April 3. This is so confusing. They gave the date of August 3, but I think they mean April 3.
这个英文当中呢写的是2015年8月3号，但是我觉得应该是正确的，应该是2015年4月3号。
We don't have to worry too much about this. This is when you get a second period to lock the child's age, but they make it very clear the child continues to age during this time.
所以呢，从这上面看呢，如果是批准以后1年当中，在没有签证名额的情况下，孩子的年龄会继续增长。
If you have a problem, deal with it today, not tomorrow.
如果您有办法能够解决这个问题的话呢，如果今天能够解决的话，不要等到明天。
I addressed these slides in my last webinar, so I'm going to do it very quickly today.
现在大家看到呢，上面的信息呢，在我上次的那个讲座里边呢已经提到过，所以呢，我现在就是稍微快一点的那个，把这个再稍微讲一讲。
18-year-olds have 3 years until they turn 21.
18岁的孩子呢，还有3年就会达到21岁。
The law gives about 1 year credit for the waiting line.
法律上呢会给孩子1年的时间，从年龄上减下去。
I mean the processing time.
这个1年就是说526当时等待批准的1年时间。
So if you look at the bottom of the page, you see 3 years plus 1 year for the processing time equals 4 years.
所以您看到下面呢，3年再加上1年等于4年。
If you take away 2 years for the quota backlog, the child is still safe.
所以呢，如果您再减去2年，就是要等待那个签证排期的话呢，等于4减2。
If you take away 3 years because of the quota backlog, the child is still safe.
或者如果是即使是等签证排期是3年的话呢，这个孩子还是应该没有问题。
If the waiting line goes to 4 years, the child could be in trouble.
但是，一旦排期是4年的话，这个孩子年龄就危险了。
If 18 at the time of filing.
这是指的是在递交的申请的时候呢，孩子是18岁。
The government says they don't think it will go beyond 3.
政府现在发出来的消息是说呢，等待排期的时间不会超过3年。
For the China wait, so they should be okay.
所以这样情况下呢，18岁的孩子应该是不会有问题。
If you want to be absolutely safe, just file for the child as the principal applicant.
如果您想十分保险的话呢，还是最好的办法就是让18岁的孩子作为主申请人来递交 I-526申请。
The same facts for the 19-year-old, but the 19-year-old should be safe. It's quite close.
同样的计算方法对于19岁的孩子来说也是一样的，但是呢，19岁的孩子呢，就是当然离21岁更近了。
For 19-year-olds, I am advising to file for the child as the principal.
所以19岁的孩子呢，我建议要按主申请人来递交 I-526申请。
For the 20-year-olds, I'm absolutely advising for the child to be the principal.
所以20岁的孩子呢，我是一定要求要按主申请人来递交 I-526申请。
I'm going to go fast. I have covered some of this before. The program needs to be extended in September of this year.
下边我会稍微讲得快一点。这个投资项目呢，在今年2015年9月份会过期。
I have not found any lawyers who do not think it will be extended. I have not found any lawyers who do not believe that the program will be extended. Every lawyer believes the program will be extended for at least 3 years or 5 years.
律师们全都认为这个区域中心项目呢会继续延期，至少会再延3年。
I personally feel the price will go up to maybe 750 or 800,000, and I'm recommending people should file now.
另外，我自己认为这个投资的款项呢会增加。
I also want to give some good news. I believe President Obama will take steps to solve this problem.
另外，我认为奥巴马总统会提出一些建议来解决目前这个问题。
I think what he's going to do is once you have 526 petition, you can be paroled to come to the U.S.
很有可能呢，在526申请批准之后呢，他可以允许申请人呢用合法身份进入美国。
If he does this, we have nothing to worry about.
如果是这样子的话呢，我们就没有任何事情需要担心了。
I've spoken about these problems before. Immigration is issuing a lot of requests for evidence on source of funds.
以前我也提到过这个情况，就是移民局关于那个投资款项的来源，提出过很多要求。
The number one issue I want to talk about is if you use a mortgage, if you use a mortgage, the property mortgaged must be in your name, not your child's name.
如果您用房屋贷款抵押来作为投资金额来源的话，这个抵押的名字一定要是在您自己的名下，而不是在您孩子的名下。
There are other issues here to talk about repayment of the loans, but I want to answer your questions instead.
下面还会有一些信息是关于如何偿还投资款项。
So I say from myself, Bernard Wolfsdorf, to all of you, Sheshe, thank you. I can translate one word.
下面呢，我要利用下面的时间来回答大家问题，所以呢，借这个机会呢，我先说一下，非常感谢大家。
So now we will go to the questions. I thank you all for your patience. We had over 250 people registered today, and I am sure we have many questions. I'm going to go very quickly, and I see many big names. I'm going to take the first English question, and then the other questions will be translated. At what time a visa is reserved and allocated to the applicant? Is it when an interview at the consulate is scheduled or when the DS-260 is filed? The answer to your question, sir, is the visa is allocated only when you have the appointment at the consulate.
有一位先生提出来一个问题呢，是说这个签证名额呢是什么时候下发？是在面谈的时候呢，在领馆面谈的时候呢，还是当您递交DS-260的时候？答案是，签证名额是在您面谈的时候才会决定有没有名额给您。
The second question I'm going to take is what information should be included on the DS-230 to freeze the child's age? Please provide as much information as possible. The form does not even have to be typed. It can be handwritten, and do it to the best of your ability.
下一个问题是说，那个 DS-230表上要提供多少信息？我认为呢，就是说，大家尽可能的提供信息。比如说时间太紧急的话，甚至可以用手写都可以。
The one gentleman asks, should I pay for the child or should I pay for the whole family? My advice is to pay for the whole family because you're going to have to pay anyway.
还下面有个问题呢，是问关于配签证中心的钱的话呢，是只是替超龄的孩子付钱呢，还是全家都付？我的建议是呢，全家都付，因为这个费用迟早全家都要付。
Let's take the first question in Chinese.
下边我回答一个用中文提出来的问题。这个问题问的是，在还没有递交 I-526申请人如果现在递交，是否会因为排期收不到档案号码？ Okay, the question is, if someone hasn't submitted I-526, and at this point, if they are submitting I-526, will it happen that they won't get a case number from the NVC because of the backlog?
Okay. The NVC case number only comes up after the petition is approved.
那个签证中心这个签证只有在526批准之后，它才会下发。
Please understand what I've been speaking about tonight is very specific and focuses mainly on what happens after the 526 is approved.
我今天晚上讲的这个内容呢，主要是关于526批准以后会发生什么样的情况。
For those people who want to do EB-5, you must move forward and file your case immediately.
而还没有递交526申请的人呢，应该尽快把申请递交进去。
So the important thing to know is that nothing changes except the waiting line will be maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 months longer than usual.
所以现在的情况来看呢，大概是这个等待签证名额呢，大概是会6到10个月，比通常情况下要多等这么长时间。
Many of the questions I have already answered, so please excuse me, I'm going fast.
现在我看到好多问题呢，是前面我都已经涉及到了，所以呢，我稍微进度要快一点。
I have a question, I don't know if it's from a Chinese investor, but this person got probation for offering bribes.
有一个问题呢，提到是关于涉及到贿赂的问题。
Be sure that this kind of problem is a huge problem, but to answer it accurately, I need to see the court record and I need to see the law under which the person was convicted.
像这个情况呢，我暂时不能给您确切的答复，因为呢，我要先看那个这方面的法律，另外还要看到那个法庭发出来的文件，我才能做出判断。
This other question is, somebody has been promised the money back within 2 years. Is this a problem? Absolutely yes. The money must be at risk until the I-829 is approved.
下面一个问题呢，讲到那个2年之后可以把那个投资款项拿回来，这个呢是一定要等到 I-824 批准之后才可以发生。
The next question is, can we lock the age of the child only by submitting 824? No, there are other ways.
还有一个问题提到是，能不能单靠提交 I-824 来锁住孩子年龄？我的回答是不是，因为还要同时用其他的方法。
The next question is, will the president change the rule to allow only the petitioner to be counted instead of the whole family? I think there's a chance, but I think that chance is quite small. So, repeat the question. Will President Obama change from counting one petition for the whole family or each member? I think the chance of that happening is small.
下面这个问题呢，问到是有没有可能，总统会发出来，比如说行政命令也好，或者什么也好，让一个主申请人来代表全家，而不是说家里每一个人都要同时。
I think more likely what will happen is that he will allow people with approved 526 to come to the U.S.
我自己的预测呢是，总统有可能在526批准以后呢，允许主申请人和家属在合法的情况下进入美国。
I was explaining that when the child applies for the principal, the parent must gift the money.
另外是刚才已经讲到的一个问题，就是说，如果孩子作为主申请人的话，这个投资款项家长要以赠送的形式给这个孩子。
The answer is yes.
这个答案是对的，就是要以这种方式来把这投资款项给孩子。
I have another question. Here, the person paid the NVC and submitted the forms in just 2 days ago.
下面呢，这个提到的一个问题呢是，就申请人已经把签证中心的费用和那个申请表在2天之前都递交进去了。
Yes, the important question is not when you submitted the DS-260 forms. The important question is when did you file your case? You must file before May 1, 2013.
关键是要看您自己的那个优先日期是什么。如果您的优先日期是在2013年5月1日之前的话呢，您就没有什么任何可担心的。
The question that I had before is, if you gift $1 million to your children, to your child, to be an accredited investor, do you have to do source of funds on $1 million or only on $500,000?
还有一个问题是说，如果您给您孩子作为礼物的话100万，那您那个投资款项是50万的话，这样是不是可以？
This is a new area, but I would say that you only need to do source of funds on the $500,000 because the reason you are doing accredited investor is for SEC compliance.
作为款项来源的话呢，您只要证明50万就可以了，这样就能达到政府的要求。
In the second, this question comes from a very experienced person, and the question that we have is, we have a priority date after May 1, 2013.
下面这个问题是一个非常有资深经验的人问出来的。他说，如果这个自己的申请人的优先排期呢是在2013年5月1号之后。
So they are not current.
所以他们现在5月1号以后就没有签证名额了。
They paid the NVC fee and they filed the DS-260.
然后呢，他们交了那个签证费，也递交了 DS-260。
Answer: yes, they will be affected by the quota, but maybe not by very much. My estimate is between 6 to 10 months for most people who filed after May 1, 2013. My statement is that people who filed after May 1, 2013 will still have to wait a little bit longer, even if they have paid the NVC and filed the DS-260 form.
如果您的那个优先日期呢是在2013年5月1号之后，但是呢您已经递交了那个申请费和那个申请表的话呢，您还是大概要再多等个6到10个月的时间。
To have a final interview, your filing date must be current. To get an interview, your filing date must be current as shown on the visa bulletin.
如果这个移民签证面谈呢安排的话呢，只有在您的那个排期已经到了的情况下才会发生。
To have an interview in Guangzhou in May of 2015, you must have a date before May 2013.
所以呢，如果您要想在比如说2015年5月份在广州有面谈的话，您的那个优先排期一定要在2013年5月1号之前。
You cannot have an interview in Guangzhou unless a number has been assigned to your case. Not NVC number, a visa number.
所以呢，只有在您的优先排期排到了以后，您才会有签证名额，您才会被在广州安排面谈。
Let me clarify that. To have an appointment in Guangzhou, a visa has to be assigned to your case and must be available.
所以呢，再重复一遍，就是如果想要在广州能够有签证面谈安排的话，一定要在有签证名额的情况下，也就是说在您的那个优先日期排到的情况下，才会有签证给您。
And the question comes, if you are in the US, you have to keep legal status until your visa number comes up. And the answer is yes. You must keep your visa status if you are in the US until your number comes up.
因为如果您现在在美国境内的话呢，遇上这个签证排期的问题，您一定要在美国境内停留的时间之内呢，保持您的非移民身份，合法的非移民身份。
The question is asked, if you are in the US, can you file I-485 after May 1, 2015?
然后下面这个问题呢是问，如果现在申请人已经在美国境内，能不能在2015年5月1号之后递交 I-485 申请？
The answer is absolutely not.
答案是绝对不可以。
You cannot file I-485 in the US until your number has come up.
您不能在美国境内递交 I-485 申请，只有在您的签证排期到了以后才可以递交。
There's a very interesting question. How many cases submitted before January 2014 have not been approved?
下面这个问题问得很有意思。现在有多少个申请是在2014年1月之前递交的，到现在还没有批下来？
I understand that there are about 400 cases from 2013 and maybe about 400 cases from 2013 that have still not been approved.
据我所知，在2013年就递进去的大概有400个申请，到现在还没有批下来。
That's over 1,000 visas.
所以这个情况下呢，再加上家庭成员的话，等于就是超过了1000个签证名额。
So those are visas from 2013.
所以这些案件就是2013年积压下来的。
Actually, when I think about it, the number has to be bigger.
也有可能这个数字会更高。
This question has come, if the property was mortgaged and is in the child's name, is there a way to overcome the NOID?
下面一个问题是，如果这个投资款项是通过房屋贷款，然后呢，这个房屋的那个注册名额呢是在孩子的名下。
My answer is, I don't think so. The case is going to be denied.
我不认为这种情况下，这个申请会被拒绝。
The question is asked, if the parent is using their own property to get the loan as collateral, I think the question is confusing. The way to answer this, and remember, is always the collateral must be in the name of the petitioner, and if it's not in the name of the petitioner, it must be gifted to the petitioner in order to invest?
下面这个问题呢，还是关于这个投资款项的问题。投资款项呢，就是说一定要么是在主申请的名下，或者是呢，这个款项是作为赠与给这个主申请人来作为投资款项。
The question is, what is the priority date? Is it the date of receiving or the date of the application? It is when they receive the FedEx package.
下面一个问题是说，这个优先排期日期是怎么看？什么是优先排期日期？这个日期呢，就是说移民局收到您的申请那一天，就是您的优先排期日期。
A lawyer is asking the question, the priority date is July 2014, and the child was 20. And the question is there a way to lock the procedure, lock the child's age before the approval? And the answer is no.
OK， 下面这个问题呢是一个律师提出来的。他说呢，这个优先排期日期呢是2014年7月，当时递申请的时候呢，这个孩子已经20岁了。有没有什么办法在526批准之前能把这个孩子年龄锁住？答案是不可以。
You cannot lock a child's age until the approval is received.
因为您不能采取任何锁住孩子年龄的方法，在这个批准之前不能采取任何这个方法，只有在526批准之后才可以采取这些锁住年龄的方法。
CISPA is a calculation that is done at the time of the approval of the case.
这个儿童年龄保护法呢，它这个计算方法呢是在526批准的那一天开始才能开始这个计算。
And you get to deduct the time the petition was pending.
然后计算当中呢，您可以把这个526等待批准这个时间呢，从孩子年龄上减下去。
But the State Department is saying they are going to publish some new generous guideline. I'm waiting to see that.
国务院现在传出消息说呢，他们会发表一些有利于孩子保护孩子年龄的方法的信息。
In this next question, the person has not got the NVC case number. Can they file the DS-260? Answer, no.
下面一个问题是说呢，在没有收到签证中心发出来的那个签证号码的情况下，有没有办法递交 DS-260？答案是不可以。
Because the DS-260 is an electronic form and you need the case number to file it.
因为 DS-260这个表呢，只能在网上递交，但是在没有这个签证号码的情况下呢，您是无法递交这个表格的。
We are almost finished most of the questions. I will finish in the next 10 minutes.
我们大概快解答完所有的问题，另外我再花10分钟吧，把下面的问题尽量解答。
The question is, can I pay the NVC fee? And my argument is, yes, you can pay the NVC by cashier's check.
下面一个问题是问，我能不能递交，就是付签证中心签证费？我的答案是可以，您可以用那个银行支票来付这个费用。
But the State Department has also said you can file the DS-230, so please consider doing that as well.
另外，国务院讲到，您也可以用那个 DS-230表格，通过这个方法来锁住孩子的年龄，所以我建议大家采用这个方法。
The next question is, with 829 cases, why the whole family does not get receipts at the same time.
下面一个问题是问到关于I-829申请，为什么家庭成员没有收到这个递交申请的回条？
My understanding is that it is a computer programming problem which they have been promising to fix for more than 10 years.
答案是这个问题已经提出来，在过去10年当中一直被提出来，应该是电脑方面的问题，电脑系统方面的问题，一直说在解决，但是看来还是没有得到解决。
This person received the 526 approval on December, but still does not have the fee bill.
下面一个问题是，这个申请人的 I-526呢，去年12月就批下来了，但是到现在还没有收到那个签证中心的那个缴费单。
Same answer. My belief is you can pay by cashier's check, but please file DS 230 as instructed.
我的回答还是您用那个银行的那个支票来付签证费，然后呢，同时递交那个 DS 230表格。
The next question is if I file my 526 tomorrow, when would I get approval? Answer, about 1 year.
还有一个下面问题是说，如果我明天递交 I-526的话，大概什么时候能够批下来？我的估计是大概1年。
Next question, if people have filed 526 but do not have approval and they fear age out, what can they do?
下面一个问题是，申请人的这个526已经递进去了，但是还没有批下来。但是呢，现在就是关于孩子年龄的问题非常担忧。
You can hope that the guidance the State Department has given, which allows you to file up to 1 year after approval, will help you.
我希望是国务院现在传出来的信息说，526批准以后，您有1年的时间来锁定孩子年龄。我希望这个信息是正确的。
Let's do these 2 questions in Chinese.
下边有2个问题是用中文提出来的。这个问题是说，目前已经获得 I-526批准，但优先日期晚于2013年5月1日的申请，是否已经确认全面会面临排期？ Okay, the question is, for the approved I-526 application, and the priority date is after May 1st, 2013. Will this people in this kind of situation facing visa cutoff or?
Yeah, same question we answered many times. They will have to wait another 6 or 8 months. No big deal.
OK， 这种情况下呢，这申请人起码要等个6到10个月，才能知道他们到那时候的情况会是什么样。然后还有一个问题是，我有一个客户于2013年9月11日批准了，在等待NVC 的签证号码过程中，他生了第3个孩子。对待他的新出生的小孩应该怎么处理？ Okay, so the next question is, I have a client whose I-526 was approved on September 11, 2013. While she was waiting for the NVC case number, she gave birth to her 3rd child. What should she do for this newborn child?
No problem. Notify NVC. That child will get a green card.
OK，在这种情况下呢，没有问题。那个只要通知签证中心，把小孩的那个出生证明啊，这些亲属关系的文件啊，提交给 NVC， 可以把孩子加进去。
So there's a question here about calculating the child's age. On approval, the child is 22 and a half. So they deduct the time the petition was pending, which is 1.2 years. And Maggie, your client is safe.
下边一个问题呢是说关于那个计算孩子年龄，在递交在 I-526 批准的时候呢，孩子已经22岁半。这样的话呢，您可以从从526等待批准的时间1年半当中减去这个孩子的年龄。
I already answered the question. It's safe. So let's go to the next one. If you gift $1 million to the kid, the child, to be an accredited investor, does it all have to be in cash, or can it be in other format? Best to have it in cash, but I'm not too worried about this question because I don't think they're going to do source of funds on the full $1 million.
下面一个问题是说，如果赠予孩子100万的话，是不是以现金的形式比较好？我认为现金的形式可以。
The next question is, do you have to do source of funds on the admin fee? Do you have to do source of funds report for the administration fee, the 50 or 45,000?
下一个问题是说，对于资金来源的话
do you have to do source of funds for the administration fee over the 500,000? And the answer is no.
OK， 这个问题是说，关于资金来源的话，对于这个行政费用
You only have to do source of funds on the 500,000, not the additional 50,000.
对于资金来源的话，您只需证明这个50万投资的款项就可以了。
Just trying to understand the question. If my priority date is before May 2013, but during the processing of NVC, I was asked for more providing documents, is my visa secure? So this person did not have a complete package and needs to be rescheduled.
下面的问题是说，我的排期呢是在2013年5月1号之前。但是呢，政府要求我补文件，所以呢，您的申请只有在您把文件全部补齐以后才会批下来。
The next question is, if the person did not have all their documents and the interview is rescheduled, then the visa must be available for the next month also.
下边一个问题是说呢，面谈的时候呢，文件不齐全，要补文件，所以呢，面谈要重新安排，所以呢，只有在有签证名额的情况下，面谈才会被重新安排。
Let's let's take this next question in Chinese, and I think we have 2 questions left. So let's take the bottom Chinese question.
下面的问题是说，是问，请问选择有 I-924 example 的项目是不是能快一点？
Is it clear?
This question is about the I-924
Yes.
project.
Yes.
If the applicant is choosing I-924 project, whether the application will be approved faster.
Well, I think what it seems to say is if they have a 924 exemplar, is that helpful? It is helpful, but it is not necessarily faster. It just gives you more assurance the case will be approved.
在这种情况下呢，不一定能保证批准的时间会快一点，但是呢，能够保证这个项目，但是能够确保这个项目被批下来，这个申请被批下来。
This is a tax question. The client got the PR card last June and landed in the US last July. Shall they declare tax for this year? This is an important question. If you enter on December the 30th, one day before the end of the year, you are a tax resident for the whole year.
好，下边一个问题呢是关于税务方面的问题。问题是说，如果是去年入境美国作为那个绿卡持有者入境美国，是不是要交税？回答是，即使是您是去年12月30号入境的话，您还是要有交税方面的问题，不是问题，就是说还要有交税，要进行交税。如果您按要求的话，应该交税的话，您还是要报税。
You have 6 months from the time your green card is approved in Guangzhou. You should try and arrive in January or February, not November or December, if possible.
一般移民签证呢是6月有效，所以呢，如果在可能的情况下呢，您最好是在选择1月或者2月份入境，这样的话呢，就不存在上一年的那个税务问题。
The last question of the night, and I thank you all. I cannot believe so many of you are still listening. I will be sending out the recording and this and these slides to you. If you have more questions, email me. So the last question of the night. My 526 was approved April 1, 2015. My son is 19 years and 4 months. My 526 was approved on April 1 of 2015. My son is 19 years and 4 months. Is he safe?
下面一个问题呢是说，我的这个 I-526申请呢是2015年4月1号批下来，然后呢，我的孩子呢是19岁零4个月，他会不会有这个？他需要不需要递交？他是不是不需要递交 I-824？
The answer and the question is, should we file the 824? There's no need to file 824. Answer, wrong. You must file the 824 or take other steps.
所以答案是呢，他应该或者说他必须 file I-824，以确保孩子的年龄。
So, I hope that all of you have some more knowledge. I'm sorry this topic is quite complicated.
我希望大家通过这个讲座呢，能够得到一些有用的信息。虽然这个内容呢，有的时候有的地方是非常复杂的。
It is so complicated that I think some of the guidance given to us by the government is not quite correct.
这些内容呢，有些地方非常复杂，所以呢，即使有些信息是从国务院发出来的，也不是十分清晰。
The government is promising to publish some new guidance in the next week, and I am expecting this guidance to be good.
政府呢传出来消息呢，下周会发出来更详细的那个信息。我希望呢，这些信息会对这个情况，对目前这个问题的解决呢，会有更大的帮助。
So, please understand the program will continue. People can apply, but the waiting line will be a little bit longer this year and a little bit longer the next year.
在这种情况下呢，大家可以继续递交那个 I-526申请，只不过呢，等待的期间呢，时间会长一些。今年和明年等待时间可能都会稍微长一点。
Unless the President or Congress jump in to fix our problems, and then we have nothing to worry about.
如果总统和国会提出来一些有利的建议的话呢，这个问题可能能够得到解决。
Several people have said thank you. I am grateful to you. Have a lovely day, and you will be receiving the recording in the mail, the link to the recording, and you will be receiving the slides probably by tomorrow. Feel free to share them with your friends, but remember, this is not legal advice.
有不少听众留言说谢谢Mr. Wolfsdorf 举办这个讲座。另外呢，我也借这机会谢谢大家。像刚才我讲过，这个录音啊，还有这个信息啊，我们都会尽快的那个公布给大家。另外让大家有办法那个